Hello there. So glad you're here. Go ahead and get settled. Let your body find its favorite position for sleep, the one that just feels like coming home. Let your head become heavy on the pillow, and let your arms and legs feel pleasantly weighty. Take a nice, slow breath in, and as you breathe out, imagine you are letting go of all the trying of the day. Our world is built on trying, isn't it? From the moment we wake up, we are pushing ourselves out of bed, pushing through traffic, pushing to get through a long to-do list, pushing against a deadline. Our whole day can feel like we're trying to swim upstream against a current. And it is so tiring. Your mind might still be in that pushing mode right now. It might still be trying to solve a problem, or trying to plan tomorrow, or just trying to make sense of the day. That's perfectly okay. Don't try to stop it. That would just be more pushing. Instead, all you have to do is listen. My job is to talk in a nice and boring way. And your only job is to let the sound of my voice be a little boat for your mind to float on. Tonight, we're going to talk about a very old and very gentle philosophy. It comes from ancient China, from thinkers who were called Taoists. But don't worry, you don't need to remember that name. You don't need to remember any of this. There is no test at the end. The whole idea we're going to explore is a very strange one for our busy world. It's the idea that sometimes the best way to get things done is to stop trying so hard. The idea that the greatest strength is not in pushing, but in yielding. Not in fighting the river, but in learning how to float with it. We're going to imagine ourselves on a long, slow journey down a beautiful, quiet river. And as we float, we're going to learn what the water has to teach us about letting go. So, if your mind wanders off, that's wonderful. If you drift away before the story is over, that's even better. That's the whole point. So let the day go. Let the pushing and the struggling and the trying all fall away. This time is for floating. This time is for peace. Let's begin. Let's imagine a river. It's not a wild, raging river. It's a slow, gentle, peaceful one. The water is the color of soft green tea, and it moves with a quiet, unhurried grace. The sun is warm, and it dapples through the leaves of the big, old willow trees that line the banks, creating shifting patterns of light on the water's surface. A little yellow leaf drops from a branch and lands on the water, and it immediately begins its long, slow, silent journey downstream. It doesn't have a plan. It doesn't have a destination. It is just floating. And in the middle of this beautiful, peaceful river, there is a man in a little boat. And this man is not having a peaceful time. He is trying very, very hard. He has a brand new, state-of-the-art paddle, and he is digging it into the water with all his might. His face is red. His jaw is clenched. You can see the muscles standing out in his arms and his neck. He grunts with each stroke, a little sound of pure effort. He is the picture of determination. But here is the funny thing. The boat is barely moving. For all his grunting and straining and sweating, the little boat seems to be almost standing still. It shudders with each powerful stroke of the paddle. It trembles with the man's effort, but it remains stubbornly in the same spot, right there beside the big, old willow tree. The man is so focused on his paddling, so lost in his struggle, that he doesn't notice the little yellow leaf as it floats calmly past him, heading downstream. He doesn't feel the warmth of the sun on his back. He doesn't hear the gentle sound of the water lapping against the sides of his boat. His whole world has shrunk down to this one, single, frustrating task, making the boat go. Does that sound a little bit familiar? It's the feeling of being stuck. The feeling that the harder you push, the less progress you make. It's the feeling of trying to force something to happen. It's the feeling of trying to force yourself to come up with a good idea when your mind is blank. You sit there and you think, be creative, and the harder you try, the more blank your mind becomes. It's the feeling of being in an argument with someone, and you are trying with all your might to make them see your point of view. You use logic, you use emotion, you use your loudest voice, but the more you push, the more they seem to push back. And of course, it's the feeling of lying in bed, in the dark, trying with all your might to fall asleep. You tell yourself, sleep. Just fall asleep. You try to force your mind to go quiet. You try to force your body to relax. And of course, the harder you try, the more stubbornly wide awake you become. The man in the boat is doing exactly that. He is trying to force the river to do something it doesn't want to do. Because, you see, he is paddling upstream. He is fighting the current. With every ounce of his strength, he is trying to push against the gentle, relentless, quiet power of the entire river. The river isn't his enemy. The river isn't trying to fight him. The river is just flowing. It is following its own nature, its own path, its own ancient and simple wisdom. And the man has decided to declare war on it. And he is losing. He is so focused on his effort, so convinced that the solution is to just try harder, to paddle with more power, that he hasn't stopped, even for a second, to ask a very simple question. What would happen if I just stopped? What would happen if I just put down the paddle for a moment? What would happen if I just let the boat and the river do what they want to do? That little question is where our whole story begins. The moment we stop pushing and start to wonder if there might be an easier way. And so, finally, the man in the boat does it. He gives up, not in a dramatic way, not with a big sigh of defeat. It's a much quieter kind of surrender. It's the surrender that comes from pure, simple, and total exhaustion. His shoulders are aching. His hands are raw from gripping the paddle. His whole body is screaming at him to just stop. And for the first time, he listens. He takes one last, ragged breath, and he pulls the paddle out of the water. He lays it across his knees. He listens to the last few drops of water drip from the paddle back into the river. Plink, plunk, plink, and then silence. A kind of silence he hadn't noticed before. The loud, grunting, sloshing, effort-filled world of his struggle is gone, and in its place is the quiet, gentle world of the river. He can hear the whisper of the breeze in the willow trees. He can hear a bird singing somewhere in the distance. He can hear the sound of his own breathing slowing down. And then he feels it. A tiny, almost unnoticeable movement. The little boat, which he had fought so hard to push upstream, shudders for a moment, as if it's confused. And then, very slowly, very gently, it begins to turn. The current, that invisible force he had been fighting against, takes hold of the boat. It's not a violent grab. It's a gentle, friendly nudge, like a hand on your back, guiding you. The boat turns all the way around, so that it is now facing downstream, and it begins to float. The man just sits there, too tired to do anything. He watches the big willow tree that had been his stubborn companion for so long, and he sees it slowly, peacefully, and effortlessly begin to shrink behind him. He is moving. He is actually traveling, and he is doing absolutely nothing at all. This is a very confusing moment for the man. His whole life, he has been taught that progress only comes from effort, that the only way to get anywhere is to push, to strive, to try harder. But here is the undeniable proof of his own eyes. The moment he stopped trying, the moment he gave up completely, was the moment he actually started to move. He looks down at the water, and for the first time, he really sees it. He sees it not as an enemy, not as an obstacle, but as a teacher. And the water has some very wise and simple lessons. He notices a big, dark rock sticking out of the river up ahead. The man braces himself, expecting a big crash. He thinks, this is it, an obstacle. But the river doesn't see it that way. The water doesn't gather itself up and try to smash the rock. It doesn't get angry or frustrated. It just yields. The current comes to the rock, and it splits. Part of it flows to the left, and part of it flows to the right. It gently kisses the sides of the rock, and then it joins together again on the other side, as if nothing had happened. The water didn't fight the rock. It didn't waste a single drop of energy trying to defeat it. It simply accepted that the rock was there, and it found the easiest, most effortless path around it. The rock, for all its hard, stubborn strength, is standing still. The soft, gentle, yielding water is the one that is getting somewhere. The man thinks about this. He thinks about all the rocks in his own life, the problems he tries to smash his way through, the arguments he tries to win with pure force. What if he could be more like the water? What if he could just flow around them? He notices something else. The river is always flowing downhill. It is always seeking the lowest place. It has no pride. It has no ego. It is not trying to climb the mountain. And because of this, because of its humility, it gains incredible power. All the little streams, all the little trickles, they all flow down and join the river, making it bigger and stronger. And the river itself, by always flowing down, eventually finds its way to the great, vast, and endless sea. The wisdom of the water is simple. Don't fight. Don't force. Yield. Adapt. Find the easiest path. Seek the quiet places. And let the gentle, unstoppable current of life carry you where you need to go. The man takes a slow, deep breath. He looks at his paddle, lying useless across his knees. And for the first time all day, he smiles. The little boat drifts. The man does nothing. He is no longer the captain of this journey. He is just a quiet passenger. The river is his guide, and the gentle, hypnotic rocking of the boat is its quiet lullaby. After a long time of just watching the green bank slide by, he does something he hasn't done all day. He relaxes enough to lean over the side of the boat and trail his fingers in the water. He feels the cool, silky current flowing through his fingers. He tries to grab a handful of it, to hold on to it, but he can't. It slips through his grasp effortlessly, without a fight. It is the softest, most yielding thing in the world. It has no shape of its own. It is happy to take the shape of the riverbed, or his hand, or whatever contains it. It has no hard edges, no sharp corners. And a strange thought occurs to him. In his world, strength has always meant hardness. Think of the strongest things we know. A great, ancient oak tree, with a trunk so thick you can't put your arms around it. Its wood is hard, its roots are strong. An iron bar, which is rigid and unbending. A great stone wall, built to keep armies out. We think of these things as powerful, but the man, floating on this quiet river, is beginning to see things differently. He thinks of that great oak tree. It is strong, yes, but when a truly powerful hurricane comes, the kind of wind that will not be argued with, what happens? The tree's very strength, its rigid hardness, becomes its weakness. Because it will not bend, it can be broken. The great trunk can be snapped in two. The strong roots can be torn from the earth. The mighty tree can be toppled. He thinks of that hard, unbending iron bar. It is strong, yes, but if you hit it in just the right way, with enough force, it doesn't bend. It shatters. The stone wall can stand for 1,000 years, but the slow, patient artistry of a billion gentle drops of rain can wear it down to nothing. The things that are hard and rigid and unbending are the things that can be broken. But the water, how can you break the water? You can hit it with a hammer, and it simply yields and splashes, and then comes back together again as if nothing happened. You can slice it with a sword, and the sword passes through, leaving no scar, no trace of its violence. The water doesn't resist. It doesn't fight back. And because of that, it is indestructible. The man thinks about his own life. He thinks about how often he tries to be the oak tree or the iron bar. He thinks of the times he has been rigid in his opinions, refusing to bend, and how that has led to arguments that snapped a connection with someone he cared about. He thinks of the times his plans have been hard and inflexible, and when something unexpected happened, his whole day shattered, leaving him feeling stressed and defeated. Does that feel familiar? The feeling of being brittle. The feeling that if one more thing goes wrong, you might just snap. The water is teaching the man a new kind of strength. Not the strength of resistance, but the strength of resilience. The strength that comes from being soft, from being adaptable, from being willing to yield and flow. He feels the tension leaving his own body. He realizes he has been trying to be a rock all day, holding his muscles tight, clenching his jaw, and now He is giving himself permission to be like the water. He lets his shoulders go soft. He lets his hands rest, limp and relaxed. He lets his mind, which had been so hard and focused on its struggle, go soft and open and quiet. He is learning the great, secret paradox of the river. That which is the softest thing in the world can overcome that which is the hardest. The greatest strength isn't the strength that can't be bent. It's the strength that can't be broken because it is always willing to yield. The little boat continues to drift, guided by an invisible and intelligent hand. The man has been floating for a long time now, and a deep sense of peace has settled over him. He is no longer looking for a destination. He is just enjoying the journey. And because his mind is finally quiet, he starts to notice things he was too busy and too stressed to see before. He notices the path of the river itself. He had always thought of a river as the shortest distance between 2 points, a straight line from the mountains to the sea. But now, sitting in his boat, he can see that that isn't true at all. The river is not in a hurry. It is wonderfully, beautifully lazy. It meanders. It makes wide, slow, graceful turns. If it comes to a small hill, it doesn't try to go over it. That would be too much work. It simply goes around it. If it comes to a wide, flat valley, it doesn't rush across it. It slows down, spreads out, and takes its time. The river is a master of conserving its own energy. It is always looking for the easiest path, the path of least resistance. Up ahead, he sees a new kind of obstacle. A huge, ancient tree has fallen across the water, its thick branches creating a complicated net. The old man, the man who was paddling upstream, would have seen this as a disaster. He would have paddled furiously, trying to find a way to smash through it, or to heave the boat over the log. It would have been a great, dramatic, and exhausting struggle. But the new man, the quiet passenger, just watches. He watches what the water does. The river doesn't see the fallen tree as a wall. It sees it as a puzzle. The water arrives at the tangle of branches, and it doesn't stop. It just explores. A little bit of the current finds a gap between 2 big branches and slips through. Another part finds a space underneath the main trunk and flows under it. Another part finds a low spot on the log and gently spills over the top in a tiny, quiet waterfall. The water doesn't have a big meeting to decide on the best strategy. It doesn't get frustrated. It just tries everything, gently and patiently, until it finds all the little paths that are already there. It finds the way that requires the least amount of effort. And within a few moments, the entire river is flowing through the obstacle as if it were nothing more than a welcome diversion. The man notices that his own little boat, guided by the main current, is also being gently nudged towards the widest, clearest opening in the branches. It slips through without a single bump. He didn't have to steer. He didn't have to do anything at all. The river had already found the easiest way for him. And he thinks about his own life. He thinks of a time he was faced with a simple task, like trying to open a door. He pushed on it, but it wouldn't budge. So he pushed harder. He put his shoulder into it, grunting with effort, convinced the door was stuck. And then he noticed the small sign that said, "Pull." All that effort, all that struggle, was completely wasted because he was trying to force the hardest path when the easiest one was right there, waiting for him. Does that sound familiar? How often do we try to solve a problem by just throwing more effort at it? We sit and stare at a difficult task, trying to power our way through it, when the easiest path might be to just get up, take a walk, and let the solution come to us when our mind is soft and relaxed. The art of finding the easiest path is not about being lazy. It's about being smart. It's about being like the water. It's the wisdom of knowing that you don't always have to go in a straight line. Sometimes, the path that looks long and winding is actually the most effortless one of all. As you lie here, your mind might be presenting you with fallen trees, problems and worries that seem complicated and impassable. You don't have to try and smash your way through them tonight. Just be like the water. Let your mind soften. Let it flow around the edges of the problem. Don't try to solve it. Just let it be. The easiest path, right now, is the path of letting go. The path that leads, gently and without any effort at all, into the quiet country of sleep. The little boat slips through the last of the fallen branches and emerges back into the open, sunlit water. The sunlight warms the man's face. He closes his eyes for a moment, just feeling the warmth and the gentle, rocking motion of the boat. And a very peculiar thought comes into his mind. For the last hour, he has been doing absolutely nothing. He has not paddled. He has not steered. He has not made a single effort. And yet, he has traveled further down the river than he did when he was trying his hardest. He has navigated a tricky obstacle without touching it. He has been doing everything he wanted to do by doing nothing at all. This, he realizes, is the river's deepest magic. The old masters, the ones who first listened to the wisdom of the water, had a special name for this. They called it Wu Wei. It's a tricky phrase to explain. It is often translated as non-action or non-doing. But it doesn't mean just sitting around and being lazy. That's not it at all. Wu Wei is the art of effortless action. It's the art of acting in such perfect harmony with the way things already are, that your actions feel like they are doing themselves. It is the art of achieving the greatest effects with the smallest amount of effort. It is the art of doing by not doing. As the man is thinking about this, his boat drifts around a wide, slow bend in the river. And on the bank, he sees a perfect picture of Wu Wei in action. There is an old fisherman sitting on a smooth, gray rock. He holds a long, simple bamboo fishing pole, and its line is dangling in the quiet, deep water near the bank. The fisherman is completely still. He is not frantically casting his line all over the river. He is not fidgeting. He is barely moving at all. He is just sitting, watching his line, as patient as a stone. The man in the boat realizes that the fisherman is not hunting the fish. He is inviting the fish. He has used his wisdom, his knowledge of the river, to find the exact spot where the fish are likely to be. He has put the right bait on his hook. He has done the small, smart, quiet work. And now, he is not using effort. He is using patience. He is letting the river and the fish do the work for him. He is in perfect harmony with the situation. He is practicing Wu Wei. Think of a cloud drifting across the sky. A cloud doesn't have a to-do list. It doesn't have a 5-year plan. It doesn't try to float. It just floats. It doesn't try to rain. When it becomes full and heavy with moisture, it just rains. It is following its own simple nature and the nature of the wind and the sky. Its entire existence is a perfect, effortless dance. And as you are lying here, in your bed, you are in the perfect place to understand Wu Wei. Because the one thing we are all hoping for right now is sleep. And sleep is the ultimate master of Wu Wei. You cannot force yourself to fall asleep. It is impossible. The harder you try, the more sleep runs away from you. You can't hunt it down. You can't grab it. Sleep is something you must invite. You do the small, smart, quiet work. You make the room dark. You get comfortable. You quiet your mind with a story. And then you do nothing. You let go. You surrender. You allow sleep to come to you in its own time, like a fish to a patient fisherman. You practice the art of non-doing. Your own body knows all about this. Just feel your breath right now. You are not doing the breathing. Your body is just breathing all by itself. It is a perfect, wise, and effortless action that is keeping you alive. It is a perfect act of Wu Wei happening right now. The man in the boat takes a deep, slow breath, matching the rhythm of the river. He is no longer just a passenger. He is a student, and he is learning the most peaceful lesson in the world. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. The little boat continues its slow, lazy journey downstream. The man is so relaxed now, he feels like he might be part of the river himself. He feels the current as if it's his own quiet thought, guiding him around another gentle bend. And on the bank, in a place that juts out a little into the river, he sees a tree. But this tree is very different from the big, wise, old willow trees he saw at the beginning of his journey. This is a young tree, and it looks stressed. It is growing in a very difficult spot. It's on a high, windy bluff, and it's all by itself. It has no other trees around to protect it, and it seems to have decided that its main job in life is to fight the wind. Even now, as a gentle breeze comes down the river, the kind of breeze that barely ruffles the surface of the water, this little tree puts up a fight. Its branches are stiff and rigid. They don't sway or dance with the wind. They resist it. The leaves tremble and shake, but they don't yield. The whole tree seems to be holding its breath, clenching its wooden muscles, trying with all its might not to be moved. It sees the wind not as a partner, but as an enemy. The man looks closer, and he can see the cost of this constant struggle. The tree's trunk isn't growing straight and tall. It's twisted, gnarled, and bent, like an arm that has been held in a tense position for too long. Its branches are not long and graceful. They are short and stubby and seem to be growing inward, as if for protection. It's not a sick tree, but it is an exhausted tree. It is spending all of its life force, all of its precious energy, not on growing, but on resisting. Now, let's think about those old willow trees we saw at the beginning. The ones with the long, beautiful, flowing branches that hung down and brushed the surface of the water. What does a willow tree do when the wind blows? It yields. It surrenders completely. It dances. The willow tree's great strength is its flexibility. Its branches are soft and pliable. When the wind comes, the willow doesn't fight it. It bows. It lets the wind flow through its leaves, creating that beautiful, whispering, rustling sound. The whole tree sways and moves with the current of the air, just as the little boat sways and moves with the current of the water. Because the willow tree does not resist, it is never broken. A great gust of wind that might snap the rigid, fighting tree in two will simply pass through the willow, making it dance for a moment, and then leaving it just as peaceful and graceful as it was before. The willow tree understands Wu Wei. It understands that by yielding, it remains whole. It conserves its energy for what is truly important, growing taller, reaching its roots deeper, and providing a quiet, shady place for the river to flow past. The man in the boat looks at the tense, struggling tree on the bluff, and he feels a great sense of compassion for it, because it reminds him of himself just a few hours ago. Stiff, rigid, wasting all of his energy on a fight he could never win. Does that feel familiar to you? The feeling of being the tense tree. The feeling of resisting the flow of your own day. When something unexpected happens, do you get stiff and angry? When someone has a different opinion, do you become rigid and unbending? When a difficult emotion like sadness or anxiety comes along, do you fight it, trying with all your might to push it away? That is the path of the struggling tree. It is a path of constant, exhausting effort. As you lie here, you can choose to be the willow tree instead. You can let your body be soft and flexible. You can let your mind be yielding. You don't have to fight the little breezes of thought that drift through your mind. You can just let them rustle your leaves for a moment, and then let them go. You don't have to resist the current of tiredness that is pulling you towards sleep. You can bow to it. You can dance with it. You can surrender to it. And in that surrender, you will find your own unbreakable, quiet strength. The sun is lower in the sky now. A soft, golden light filters through the trees, making the river look even more like liquid honey. The man has been so quiet for so long. He almost feels like he has merged with his surroundings. He is no longer separate from the boat, or the water, or the light. He is just a quiet, witnessing presence. And in this deep state of peace, he starts to notice the gentle activity of his own mind. It's like a sky that has been stormy and is now mostly clear, but it is not completely empty. From time to time, a little cloud will drift into view. A thought appears. It's a small, gray cloud of worry. Did I remember to lock the door this morning? The thought whispers. Now, a few hours ago, This single thought would have been a major event. He would have grabbed onto it with both hands. He would have wrestled with it, trying to prove to himself that he did lock the door. He would have replayed his entire morning routine in his head, searching for the memory. The worry would have become a heavy, churning storm in the center of his mind. But now, he does something profoundly different. He does nothing at all. He sees the thought appear, and he doesn't treat it like a storm. He treats it like a cloud. He just watches it. He doesn't engage with it. He doesn't argue with it. He doesn't push it away. He simply notes its presence. He thinks gently, a worry cloud. And because he doesn't give it any of his energy, because he doesn't fight it or feed it, the little cloud of worry just keeps drifting. It floats across the vast, blue, peaceful sky of his mind, and a few moments later, it drifts out of sight, and the sky is clear again. A little while later, a different kind of thought arrives. It's a memory, something embarrassing from years ago, a silly mistake he made. The old man, the man who was paddling upstream, would have felt a hot flush of shame. He would have cringed, diving into the memory, getting stuck in the thick, sticky mud of regret. But the new man just watches the memory surface, and he thinks of it as a single, brown leaf floating on the surface of the river. It appears, it bobs there for a moment, and then the gentle, steady current of time just carries it away, downstream, into the past where it belongs. He doesn't have to do anything about it. It's just a leaf. It's just a memory. It's not happening now, and he just lets it go. This is the great secret of a peaceful mind, the secret the Taoists knew so well. You don't try to empty your mind. That is an impossible task, a battle you will always lose. It's like trying to command the river to stop flowing. Instead, you just change your relationship with the river. You stop being the frantic boatman, and you become the quiet observer sitting on the bank. Or better yet, you become the vast, empty sky above the river. The sky doesn't care what kind of clouds drift through it. It has room for everything. The big, dark, stormy-looking clouds and the little, light, fluffy ones. The sky doesn't fight them. It just provides the quiet, endless space for them to come and to go. As you are lying here, your mind may still be producing clouds. A plan for tomorrow might float by. A memory from yesterday might appear. You don't have to do anything about them. You can just be the sky. You can rest as a vast, quiet, and peaceful awareness. Notice the thought without getting tangled up in it. You can say to yourself, there is a thought, a little leaf on the river, and then you just let it go. You bring your attention ever so gently back to the simple, physical reality of this moment, back to the feeling of your own breath, back to the weight of the blanket. You let your thoughts just float by on the slow, gentle river of your mind. They are not you. They are just the weather. And you can rest, calm and untouched, like the deep, peaceful sky, as it all just passes by. The river has widened now, and its pace has slowed to an almost imperceptible crawl. The banks have changed, too. They are wilder here, thick with ancient, mossy trees and giant ferns. There are no signs of human activity. It feels like a place that has been sleeping for 1,000 years. A deep, earthy smell of wet stone and rich soil hangs in the air. Drifting near the bank, half submerged in the still, green water, is a large piece of wood. It's not a log or a branch. It looks like it might have been part of a giant tree a long, long time ago. The river has been its companion for years, slowly, patiently, and gently washing away all of its sharp edges, its bark, its little twigs. It has been worn smooth and pale by its long journey. It is just a simple, beautiful, solid block of wood. The man in the boat just looks at it for a long time. It is not trying to be anything special. It is not a sculpture of a bird. It is not a canoe. It has not been carved into a table or a chair. It has no name. It has no purpose. It is simply wood, in its most natural, honest, and simple form. The old Taoist masters had a special love for this idea. They called it pu, which means the uncarved block. The uncarved block represents the state of things in their pure, original nature. Before we get clever, before we start trying to improve everything, it represents a simple, powerful wholeness. A block of wood, before you carve it, holds all possibilities. It could become anything. The moment you carve it into a spoon, it can never be a bowl. It has been limited. It has been defined. The man thinks about his own life. He thinks of himself as a block of wood when he was a very small child. Simple, whole, full of endless possibilities. And then the carving began. His teachers came along and carved the word student into him. His parents carved the words son and brother. As he grew, his job came along and carved a title into him. His friends carved the word friend. He himself carved hobbies and interests and opinions into his own surface until the whole block was covered in a complex pattern of carvings. A pattern that he had to maintain and polish and show to the world. A pattern that he called me. Does that feel familiar? The feeling of wearing all of your labels, all of your carvings, like a heavy coat. The good employee carving, the responsible parent carving, the interesting person with cool hobbies carving. We work so hard to maintain them all. But as the man looks at this simple, smooth, uncarved block of wood, floating peacefully in the water, he feels a great longing. A longing to go back, to return to that simple wholeness, to be just the wood underneath all the carvings. And he realizes that he can, that we all can. As you lie here in your bed, in the quiet darkness, you are not your job. You are not your responsibilities. You are not your successes or your failures. All of those things are just carvings on the surface. They are just stories. But underneath all of those stories is the simple, beautiful, uncarved block of you. The simple, quiet, breathing presence that is here right now. You can let all those carvings, all those labels, all those efforts to be a specific something just fall away. You can return, just for tonight, to your original nature. A state of simple, whole, and uncomplicated peace. The peace of the uncarved block, resting in the quiet water, with nothing to do and nothing to be, other than exactly what it already is. The sun has dipped below the trees now. The sky above is a soft, deep, and gentle violet. The first, shy star of the evening has appeared. The air is cool and still. The river has become so slow and quiet here. It feels like the whole world is holding its breath. The man looks down at his hands, resting peacefully in his lap. They are soft and open. And then he looks at the paddle, lying and used across the front of the little boat. He remembers the feeling of gripping that paddle, the hardness of the wood in his hands, the strain in his arms and shoulders. He remembers the feeling of effort, of struggle, of trying to force his will upon the river. It feels like a memory from a different lifetime. He reaches forward, slowly, and picks up the paddle. It feels strange in his hands now. It feels like a tool from a forgotten world. A tool for fighting. A tool for trying. And he knows, with a quiet certainty, that he doesn't need it anymore. He holds it for a moment, and then, with a simple, gentle movement, he leans over the side of the boat and places the paddle into the water. And he lets it go. It doesn't make a big splash. It just lands softly, and for a moment, it floats there, right beside the boat. A silent, wooden companion. And then, the slow, invisible current takes hold of it, just as it took hold of his boat all those hours ago. The paddle begins to drift away, slowly at first, and then it picks up speed as it finds a slightly faster part of the current. It bobs once, twice, as if waving a quiet goodbye. And then it is gone, carried away downstream, a small, dark shape disappearing into the deepening twilight. The man watches it go until he can't see it anymore, and he feels the profound sense of relief. A lightness. The paddle was his ambition. It was his effort. It was his belief that he was the one in charge, that he had to be the one to make things happen. It was his struggle, and now it's gone, and he is still moving. He is still on the journey. In fact, he feels more on the journey than ever before, because now there is nothing between him and the river. He has surrendered completely. He has given up the last little bit of control. Does that feel familiar to you? That little paddle we all carry around. Even when we are trying to relax, even when we are trying to fall asleep, we often keep our paddle right beside us, just in case. The paddle of our plans for tomorrow. The paddle of a problem we are still trying to solve in the back of our mind. The paddle of a conversation we need to have. We think we need it. We think that if we were to let it go completely, everything would fall apart. But what if it wouldn't? What if you could, just for tonight, place that paddle gently in the water? The paddle of your worries. The paddle of your to-do list. The paddle of your need to figure everything out. You don't have to smash it. You don't have to throw it away in anger. You just have to open your hand and let the quiet, gentle current of the night carry it away. It will be there for you tomorrow if you need it. The river will probably wash it up on the shore somewhere downstream, waiting for you. But you don't need it now. Now is the time for oarless, rudderless, effortless drifting. Now is the time to trust that the river knows the way. The river of your own breath. The river of your own body's wisdom. The river of the night itself. As you lie here, you can feel that last little bit of the doer and you just relax. The part of you that is always trying to manage things. You can let it go. You can put down the paddle. And you can just float, safe and secure, on a slow, quiet, and peaceful river that is carrying you exactly where you need to go. Into the deep, calm, and endless ocean of sleep. The last traces of color have faded from the western sky. The world is now draped in the deep, soft, and silent velvet of the true night. Above, the stars are no longer just scattered points of light. They have become a vast, silent, and breathtaking river of diamonds, a celestial echo of the little river the man has been traveling on. The water beneath the boat is now as smooth and dark and perfect as polished obsidian, and it reflects the heavens so perfectly that the man has the strange and wonderful sensation that his little boat is no longer floating on water at all, but is drifting peacefully through a quiet galaxy. He can feel a change in the air. A distinct coolness has settled in, and a soft, steady breeze has begun to breathe across the water. This new breeze carries a smell that is completely different from the earthy, green smells of the riverbank. It is a clean, wild, salty, and ancient smell. It is the smell of vastness, of distance, and of mystery. It is the smell of the sea. The river itself is changing too. It has been slowing down all afternoon, and now it has become so slow and quiet. It feels like the whole world is holding its breath. The man can hear a new sound, far off at first, but growing steadily closer. It is not the whisper of wind in the trees or the gentle lapping of water. It is a sound that is deeper, older, and more powerful. A low, gentle, rhythmic sighing. It is the sound of waves. It is the sound of the ocean breathing in its sleep. The river has been on such a long journey to get here. The man thinks of its life. It began as just a tiny, hopeful, trickling spring high up in the lonely, quiet mountains. It was a small and humble thing, but it had a deep, inner calling, a quiet and unshakable purpose, to flow downwards, to let go. It followed the path of least resistance, the ancient wisdom of Wu Wei. And as it flowed, other little streams, following their own natures, came and joined it. The river grew, not by trying, not by ambition, but simply by being true to itself and by accepting everything that came to join it. It journeyed through sunny meadows and dark, quiet woods. It met obstacles, great, hard, unmoving rocks and tangled, fallen trees, and it never fought them. It never wasted its energy in a useless struggle. It just yielded, flowed around them with its soft, patient, and unbreakable strength, and continued on its way. Its whole life has been one long, graceful, and continuous act of letting go. And now, its journey is almost over. The man watches as the familiar banks of the river begin to fall away. They recede into the darkness, becoming lower and fainter, until he can no longer see the shore on either side. The feeling of being contained, of being in a channel, is gone. The little boat drifts out into a vast, open space. It is no longer in a river. It is in the great, wide, and endless sea. The river has arrived. It has completed its great work. And what is its final reward? Its reward is to disappear. Its reward is to merge with something infinitely larger, older, and deeper than itself. The little river, which had its own name, its own path, its own story, now becomes one with the great, mysterious, and all-encompassing ocean. It has returned to its source. It has come home. And the man, sitting in his little boat as it begins to rise and fall on the first gentle, salty swells of the sea, he understands. He understands with his whole body, not just his mind. This is the final lesson of the water. The lesson of completely and utterly letting go. Letting go of your own little story, your own little path. Letting go of your own little self, with all its worries and plans. And allowing yourself to merge with the great, quiet, peaceful darkness that is waiting for you. This is what sleep is. All day long, you have been the river. You have been flowing through your own unique path, your own busy day. You have navigated your own obstacles. You have had your own name, your own thoughts, your own little journey. But now, at the end of the day, you have arrived at the shore of the great ocean of sleep. And your work is done. You don't have to be the river anymore. You don't have to be you anymore. You can let it all dissolve. You can let your own little current of consciousness merge with the vast, deep, and peaceful stillness of the night. It is not an end. It is a return. It is a homecoming, a place of deep, silent, and perfect rest. The little boat just rocks, gently, on the endless, dark water. The stars shine silently, and the great, ancient, and peaceful ocean sighs, in and out, like the slow, deep, and gentle breathing of a world that has finally and completely come to rest. So now, the story is over. You can let it all go. Let the man in his little boat drift away into the starlight. Let the river and the great, peaceful ocean dissolve into the quiet landscape of your dreams. They were just a gentle current to carry you here, to this moment of deep stillness. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to figure out, nothing left to try for. Just the simple, easy feeling of your own breath, rising and falling, all by itself. An effortless, quiet rhythm, like the gentle swell of the sea. You don't have to do a thing. It's the most peaceful song in the world, and it's playing just for you. With every breath out, you are floating a little further, letting go a little bit more, sinking into a feeling of deep, warm, and heavy comfort. You don't have to push. You don't have to strive. You can just float now, held safely by the quiet darkness. Your mind is free to drift. Your body is free to be still. And you are free to fall into a deep and wonderfully restful sleep. Thank you for listening. Sleep well.